Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go.
Hi.
Hey.
Apologize if the audio sounds weird or different, or maybe better. Because what if it sounds better? And my normal podcasting setup is not good.
We're actually doing this from a hotel room.
A very nice hotel room.
Very nice hotel room. A little boutique hotel down in Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah, I've got pillows to one side of this because the room is very large ceilings. So it's echoey in here.
Yeah, so hopefully you can't tell that. But we will not get into this story today, but we're in Richmond because of a photo shoot that we did.
We're not going to get into the story?
Well, I almost wonder, should it be like a whole story at some point? Because it was a story. It was the photo shoot from hell.
Yeah, it didn't go well. We're trying to get new photos done for our site because we haven't done them in 6 years. Our makeup artist, I'm just going to tell the story.
Yeah.
Our makeup artist, the salon where we're getting our hair and makeup done called like 3 hours, less than 3 hours in advance and was like, the makeup artist has a fever, so she cannot do your makeup. And we are trying very hard, but cannot find you anyone. They were like, maybe try to go to like Sephora or Ulta or some makeup counter at the friggin' mall.
Which we did all of.
And all of
those places. Nobody could do that. Partially because of COVID still, partially because no one's available. I mean, so we drove all over the city looking for someone to do our makeup. I felt like I was walking around like a beggar, like, please, will you do my makeup?
I know.
Will you help me?
And the answer was no. So if you see our pictures, you won't see these for quite some time, but when eventually you see them, don't judge my makeup.
That was our own handiwork. And I don't know how to do my makeup to prepare me for a photo shoot.
No.
So we're like, just more makeup than usual? I don't know.
And I still feel like it didn't even look like I had makeup on, you know? So it's like, I'm probably like all eyebrows and lips and like no eyes or something. Anyway. And then
our venue also canceled.
I shit you not. Our venue was like, nope, you can't come take pictures here. Like 2 hours before, 3 hours before. They just changed their policy about having photo shoots there at the last minute. And like, somehow that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then we had to go to a backup venue. You know what? Ultimately, I still think we probably got some good pictures. She took 1,900 pictures. There's got to be like 5 that we don't hate.
If we don't have 5 good pictures out of 1,900, even given the circumstances,
We're really
I feel
ugly.
That's on us. That's just on us at that point.
Yeah, and I might have been because I didn't do my makeup well. And it might have been on me that I was ugly.
It was one of the hottest days of the year.
It's really
and humid. So God knows what happened to my hair between the salon
was fretting about her hair.
I mean, just all of it. So it's done now.
It's done.
That's the best I can say. It's done. I hope the photographer's great. So we're going to hope that she can work some miracles on us. And we're still in the hotel room. So that's why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, what a story.
Well, we have another story. Our normal person. It's you.
It's me. Surprise. I mean, you probably saw that in the title, so you're not as surprised.
Yeah. It's you. Remember how I said we were going to bring on an illustrious guest last time? I don't think I said illustrious.
I'm the special guest.
It's you. We have a really special one for next month too. Can you guess who it's going to be? I'll let you think about that for a month.
Oh, we're so cool.
No, but I have a really good reason for my special guest next month.
Yes, you do. So
we're just going to tease that now.
But I have an interesting story to tell.
You have a very interesting story to tell. Okay. Who knows how many times we're going to have to pause and cut stuff out. It's already happened multiple times in the last 2 minutes. It sounded like there was a jackhammer going off somewhere, and that might just happen. And I might not edit it all out. And
we've warned you
in a hotel.
that we're in a different location.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. All right. So you have a story.
I have a story that I wanted to tell you all on the podcast at some point anyway.
You kind of have to. It would be kind of weird if you just pretended that this wasn't happening.
Right.
So
for transparency's sake, I feel like I need to tell the story. But then there's so much to the story
that's relevant.
That is relevant. That I think is a good story. It's the kind of normal person interview I'd want to ask someone else about. So I'm just going to tell you my story. And Rachel's going to interview me today.
Yeah. Okay. So can we just start with the bluff? The bottom line up front.
The bottom line up front.
Yeah.
Is that I got a job.
And now we're going to roll it back and explain that. Because people are probably going to be making assumptions about what that means.
Sure.
They're going to be like, oh no, Kristen and Rachel are not doing Clarity on Fire anymore.
They're is incorrect.
Breaking up. Sounds like someone's trying to break into our room right now, and I don't think that's happening. No, we're not.
That would be an incorrect assumption. I am still part of Clarity on Fire. I am still coaching. I am still doing all of my normal tasks.
Mm-hmm. I just different timeline.
Essentially. Yep. And I'm also starting a job soon.
Okay. Let's walk it back like I usually do with all of my normal people. I'm like, okay, thank you for sharing the bottom line up front. Now we got to roll it back, however far you need to roll it back to make this make sense.
Okay.
Which might mean years.
It is
to be honest.
It is going to mean years.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to momentarily. I want to pause on a instrumental moment for me and partially for you, but even maybe more so for me years ago.
It felt pretty monumental for me too, but it has had more impact on you over the years, I believe.
Yep. So we obviously came up with the passion profile quiz.
It's one of the only things that I've ever done in my life that had staying power.
That was actually out of our own brains.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we came up with the profiles. We fleshed them out. People have found them very, very helpful. And I thought I was just one of them for the first few years of being in business. I thought I was just a fire starter.
Well, and that makes sense because of what we were reacting to when we started a business. Yep. We really, really hated working for other people.
Especially in an office where I felt like my time was being owned by my employer.
To be honest, think about how different working for other people was when you and I graduated college over a decade ago.
It's true.
Like, if you don't know how old we are, we graduated in 2010. Okay. So do the math. And remote work wasn't much of a thing back then. It was getting going, but there was no Zoom, guys.
Nope.
The pandemic alone has revolutionized remote work, I think.
And just flexibility in general.
But it wasn't like
location and time and all of that.
If you had a job, you were commuting.
You were putting in your 8 hours in an office, in a cubicle.
At least 8 hours.
Whatever it was. Right. You were taking your little lunch break. I mean, you were doing it the classic traditional way. And
that did not work well for you.
Yeah. That was very draining. And I rebelled against that and wanted to get my time and my freedom.
And to be fair, you were bored and unfulfilled.
I didn't like the work either. I didn't feel like I was helping anyone or doing anything worthwhile. So for all those reasons, I felt very, very strongly that I wanted to run my own show.
Yeah.
And I frankly think I actually did have more fire starter energy at that point.
Yeah.
I think it can shift.
It can
slightly
definitely
over
ebb
time.
and flow.
So I was more of a true fire starter then.
Which, do you want to pause and clarify to people who might be new what that means, or who took it and they're like, well, I'm a tribe member, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's true.
So if you haven't taken the quiz, maybe go to clarityonfire.com and take the passion profile quiz. It'll take you 2 minutes, read your PDF, which will take you an additional 1 minute, and then come back and listen to this. And then we can tell you about
more context.
Real quick, we'll tell you about the others so that you understand what we're talking about.
So when I'm talking about a fire starter, these are people who they really, really value independence, their time freedom, freedom to do the work that they're passionate about. They typically they can't often get as excited working for someone else's mission as for their own mission because they love that ownership and that autonomy. And they're really fired up to sometimes give even more time to their own pursuits than they would to someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they leave a job, they might end up working more hours for themselves, but they'd be happier. So they need to be passionate. They need to have a lot of freedom, autonomy, and ownership. Tribe members, this is not really relevant to our story today, but tribe members are more inspired by the team, by the mission, by the purpose, by we're in this thing together, working for something worthwhile.
More attracted to predictability and stability, so lower tolerance for risk, as opposed to a fire starter who has a much higher tolerance for risk and would easily trade the stability for the freedom.
Exactly.
And I think that
tribe members
that stresses a tribe member out.
More opposite.
I want to know where my money is coming from for the most part, so I can do the work and not think about how to make the money.
Yes. Okay. Thrivers, which will definitely be relevant to this story.
Fire starter and thriver is very relevant to this story.
So thrivers are people who they want to enjoy their work, of course, because everyone does, but it's not their reason for being.
No.
They work to live, not live to work.
Actually, they don't really want to combine their money, the way they make money, with what they enjoy for like what they're actually passionate about, because it steals the intrinsic joy from it.
Yeah, it turns something purely enjoyable into an obligation, and
which really robs the fun out of it.
Like that.
No.
So they want work and play to be more separate.
Yes. Work is a thing that funds play.
Exactly. And they maybe as much, if not even more than tribe members, want stability, predictability. They want to know where their paycheck is coming from because that fuels the rest of their life. And they want that holistic, balanced life.
They don't like pressure at all. And so having to try to turn something that they enjoy into making money just puts a lot of pressure on it, and it makes them really
sometimes
unhappy,
enjoy it less.
And it drains them. And they really, 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 really don't want to work more than like 40 hours a week. And if they can get away with working even less, great. Because they need a lot of balance if they're going to spend the rest of their life doing things they actually really enjoy more than working.
Mm-hmm.
Like every thriver I've ever met has been like, well, if I could win the lottery, I just would, and then I wouldn't work anymore.
Or some of what they would do might look kind of like work, but they're not doing it for that reason. So they're volunteering or they're doing projects just for the fun of it. That's how they would enjoy spending their time if they could.
But I think people think like, oh, well, anyone who won the lottery would just stop working. And I'm like, no. I think fire starters would be like, great, I have money for my next venture.
Yep. Or my mom's a tribe member. She would keep being a nurse.
Yeah.
Even if she won the lottery.
Just fund her retirement.
Likes doing that.
Yeah. I don't understand that.
She's told me I'm going to keep doing that for as long as my body allows me to do that, whether I need the money or not. So that's not true for everyone, but for thrivers, usually pretty true.
Okay.
So side hustler, also not relevant to the story, but they really value more than anything, variety and stimulation and growth and learning and trying new things. So they don't want to be stuck in a job where every day looks kind of the same. They will burn out and get bored very easily. They need to feel like they're multi-passionate typically. So they want to feel like all of their passions are getting some of their time and their attention.
Mm-hmm.
And they hate stagnation.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they end up having multiple different jobs and they pull together a career from a few different places, or they have a job where they get to wear like 16 hats and they love that.
Mm-hmm.
Or they have a lot of growth built into the job and constant learning. So that's the most important thing to them.
Mm-hmm. Which means their values can be look a little bit contradictory and scattered more than the others, because it's like they might have a higher tolerance for risk in some capacities, and then they might not in others, or they might like, more freedom in one area and they don't need it as much in the other, but they but they have to have multiple things going on.
Yes.
Or else they're not going to be happy.
Some of those things might make them money. Some of them may not.
That's okay.
That's okay. They don't need that all to be the same.
Yeah. They need to really care about what they do, but they could have multiple sources from which they're drawing in order to make that happen. Whereas that's not really a fire starter's or a tribe member's bag. They're like, I just want to like laser in on one thing for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other things are distracting from the main mission to a fire starter or a tribe member.
And of course you can be a combination of two of them.
Well, that's part of the story too.
Yes.
So that was a little tangent, but hopefully helpful one.
So to go back to the main thread here, you and I for years just thought we were fire starters, but our experience was
We felt like we were bad fire starters.
We thought we were bad fire starters. We thought, and we were, to be clear, burnt out. And we thought we were just burnt out fire starters. And I was burnt out.
And then there was one evening where I don't know how this came up, but I think you introduced this concept.
I definitely did. And this is a me thing where I'm like, because I've done this multiple times in our history where I'm like, I actually think maybe you're this. It's and like, all of a sudden you're like, what?
Yeah. And you were like, I think we might be part thriver. And I was like, is that allowed? like it felt so true. And I was like, but I'm a business owner. I had my own limiting beliefs about what a fire starter and a business owner is and should be. And so it felt like, am I allowed to do that? Because it feels good to think of myself as a thriver, but it feels a little dangerous too.
Okay. Why did that make sense? Like why weren't you a good fire starter? Why weren't we good fire starters?
Because
good is probably not the right word.
No, that's not the right word. That's a judgment word. Yeah. But it felt like I wasn't a true fire starter because the true fire starters that I know, they are willing to put in a lot of energy and energy. And they care so much about the growth of their business and about new ideas. And they're fueled by that fire. And I didn't always feel as fueled by like, I need this to grow and I need this to turn into this giant empire of a business. Like it just felt.
We did think like that at some point.
For a hot second early on.
Very early on, but it wasn't sustaining. And that's probably one of the red flags. It was like, we burn out very quickly. Mm-hmm. And we're exhausted like very early on.
My free time is really important. To me, because that's where I get a lot of my other needs met. Yeah. Whereas a fire starter tends to get many, many needs met from work. It's almost a problem for them. It's why they sometimes overwork because they're getting so many needs met from their job or from their business. And I was needing much more of a balance in my life. And a thriver profile just it explained a lot of things why I thought, is it that I don't care enough? Because I do care, but I don't care enough to work till 2 a.m. or work every week. Like I don't.
There's so many things that you and I left on the table.
Exactly.
That a real fire starter would have snatched up the opportunity. And you and I were like, but I just want to do nothing way more than I'm doing nothing right now. Mm-hmm. Which is why in our Dear Rachel last week, we were kind of cautious in warning someone who is a thriver that the first thing that they wanted to do was start a business to try to get freedom. And I'm like, listen, that might not be the quickest and easiest route to finding freedom.
And we're speaking partially from experience here.
100% from experience, not partially, like 100%, but also from me witnessing other people's journeys too. But yeah, you and I started a business equally to do something we cared about. And also because it was the lifestyle we wanted to live.
Exactly.
Which is not usually the fire starter motivation.
Right.
The fire starter motivation is usually the mission, period. And then also, I want like unlimited money and freedom or whatever, but I care so much about like the thing that I am doing. Whereas a thriver is like, honestly, I care as much, if not more, let's be honest, about being able to like not work when I don't want to work and being able to just like clock out and like not and have a lot of balance and space.
Yep.
Like that was so important.
And that's always been one of our big motivators.
Yeah.
And when you think of yourself as a fire starter, you think, oh, I'm doing it wrong.
I'm lazy. I'm a lazy fire starter.
Yes, that's how it felt. I think we'd called ourselves that many, many times.
Many times.
And so to allow myself to accept the thriver part of me was very freeing. And that leads to a whole series of events that I only really recently have attributed to the thriver part of me. First of all, growing over the years. I think it used to be a smaller part of my profile makeup, and I think it's become larger over the years. And secondly, it's felt ignored because running a business requires you to tap into the firesider side a lot. Most of the time, I have to be in fire starter mode, which makes the fire starter part of me very happy, but it makes the thriver part of me very burnt out and tired. And so I would go through these phases of excitement and then burnout, and then excitement and then burnout. And
the excitement never lasted long. And the burnout lasted a lot longer.
Right. Because the whole part of me was feeling neglected this whole time.
The majority. I think it's gotten to the point where the fire starter is not winning anymore.
I agree.
Like the thriver was winning, but you still had to be a fire starter, which was exhausting. The whole point of passion profiles is that it's exhausting to be something that you're not. And so if you work in a way that's aligned with how you're wired, things get easier. And so we were, of course, because you teach what you most need to learn. You're like doing things opposite of how we're teaching people to do them. But like, this is how we make money. It's hard to just be like, I'm going to stop doing it the way I've been doing it for years. Like, I just need to make this work, and I just need to make more tweaks. And I just need to maybe I'll try this and that'll help. Or maybe I'll put this boundary up and that'll help. And it was kind of just like trying to, I don't know, like patch a dam in like all the places the water was starting to leak out instead of just like replace it or let it go, you know?
Yeah. So over the years, I somewhat consciously, somewhat subconsciously was trying to find things to make my thriver feel more seen.
To balance,
feel more
to
included.
Bring balance. Yes.
So I, as some of you know, got a job working for IPEC for a little bit, a year and a half, however long ago.
Almost 2 years ago.
And that served its purpose for a little while.
Yeah. But then she had to leave because there was a whole thing that went.
It's a whole thing.
There's a whole, like, let's just call it a
misalignment.
Yeah. There was a misalignment. Yeah. Let's call it that.
I don't know what you were going to say.
I was going to say they reshuffled.
They did. They reorganized the whole thing. And then what I wanted was not really what they,
you were no longer a match for what they were looking for.
And that was fine. And so we parted amicably. And so, okay. And then I'm like, well, there's this cyber part of me that had been feeling a little bit supported and seen for a while.
Because you were getting like a steady, stable paycheck, which, let's be clear, is never business. Like it's
no matter what level you get to, there's no such thing. I don't know.
I've never been to the millions of levels.
Well, true. But even then, there's no way that you run a business and you know exactly how much money you are going to make every single month.
No,
it's not how it works.
Let's be clear. Kristen and I have been able to support ourselves full-time in coaching for 7 years or something like that? Okay, we had to pause again because there was some weird creaky noise that I thought was Kristen and wasn't. And I don't know where it was coming from. This is what happens when you record in a space that is not your own space. At least when it's my space, I can, I know it's my dog barking in the background.
And you mostly know how to calm her down.
Okay, so Kristen and I have been able to support ourselves full-time for 7 years as business people. Like, Kristen bought a car. I bought a condo. It's not like we're rubbing two nickels together.
Right.
But there are times when it feels like you're rubbing two nickels together.
And it's also challenging to plan ahead for certain financial goals, because even in the times where you're making good money, you never know when you're going to have a lean month.
Yeah.
And so should I invest that money? Should I put that money toward this thing I've been saving for? Or am I going to need it in a few months? So it's hard to make as much progress, even when you're doing fine, because of the unpredictability. And if I were a true fire starter, I'd be able to roll with that more easily. As a thriver, I want a little bit more stability and predictability. And that has been hard. So there's been multiple other things I've considered, some of which I haven't even mentioned on the podcast because it didn't get that far.
Yeah.
But I ended up having what I think now was another limiting belief, which was, if I want some kind of steady paycheck in addition to my business, my fire starter side, I need a new skill. So I considered pretty seriously going back to grad school and maybe becoming a therapist or getting that next level of degree or certification.
Kristen's like, I know, I'll take insurance money. That'll be stable. Right. And it'll take me 7 years and tens of thousands of dollars of debt to make $100 from United Healthcare.
As if that's perfectly reliable either. It's a similar model.
As if therapy isn't kind of its own business.
Exactly.
Too. I mean, sure, you can work at a clinic or something, but yeah.
So that felt like, well, maybe I'm getting closer. And then that didn't really actually make sense. So I didn't go that far. And then some of you know that I was looking into UX design, and I actually did take an entry-level course and then was going to take another longer intensive course about that. I do still find it very interesting, but it was fueled by this belief that I don't have what it takes now to have someone want to pay me a steady income of some kind.
Not just like
my skills,
casual hourly steady income, like a more robust income.
Yeah, not a freelance income, because that's not.
And I don't want to be a freelancer. That's a fire starter thing. Right.
And then I realized once again, I'm going to have to put a ton of energy and effort and time and money into something that for a long time is not going to pay me.
Right. I could eventually get a job as a UX designer, but like after how many?
At least 6, 9, 12 months of free effort that I had to put in.
No, not free.
No, I'm paying for it. And so my Thriver was not feeling seen again. It was like, wait, you want me to do more work for how long? So maybe later we could make a steady side income. Like that's not what I need. That's exhausting. And so I was trying to support it, and I was doing it in a fire starter kind of a way. And it was like, no. So I think it was earlier this year. And I do think part of it is, you all know, I'm writing a book about passion profiles. It's hard to write a book about passion profiles when you are not 100% living in alignment with your own passion profile.
It's a real call out.
It's a call out by yourself. By my own brain.
You don't have anyone else to blame for it but you.
I'm writing about the profiles. I'm writing about what happens when you don't follow, and I'm currently not doing it.
Wow, that's me. Shit, I'm writing.
I'm having my own aha moments about my own damn book.
I'm sure it'll be a great book.
So I do think that was partially what fueled me recognizing I'm going to have to make a different kind of change than I have been considering.
Right. You kept trying to solve the problem with more fire starter solutions.
I know.
Right. Like, let's just go back to school and like not get paid.
And then I had another
do a course and not get paid.
Yeah. I had another big idea within our business that I actually started.
Oh yeah. You did a whole beta group
that was going to supposedly help.
A very fire starter.
It was so fire starter of me.
Like,
and then of course I get a certain ways through it. And then I'm burnt out because I just used up more fire starter energy and burnt out my Thriver even more. And I'm like,
somehow you're like trying to rev up the Thriver, but like you're through the fires. Like the fire starter cannot rev up the Thriver.
Or it's almost like my fire starter is like, if we can just get enough energy, maybe we can convert the Thriver part of you into a fire starter. And it's not working.
Listen, conversion therapy doesn't work for anyone around anything.
No. Okay. We know this does not work on humans, no matter
what we're trying to convert, it doesn't work.
And my Thriver was not having it. It was like, still not what I need. Not even close, actually. And so when was it that I came to you?
Not that long ago.
Maybe 3 months ago?
Not even. Maybe max 3 months.
And I said, I think I just need to start looking for a job with the skills I already have. I have been running a business for 9 years. I've done a lot of cool stuff. And I think I'm undervaluing the skills that I've developed by working for myself. Mm-hmm. I don't think I need a new skill. And so I started very, very casually poking around. Mm-hmm. I'm talking very casually.
You might need to define what that means.
I only really checked LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And I click some of those buttons that's like, let me know about stuff, like email me about opportunities that are generally related to the kind of work that I could do, like training, development, coaching, the kind of stuff I'm already doing, sort of. Just getting paid by someone else to also do it. And I told Rachel at some point, like, I am doing this in a way that I would not advise my clients to do, but it's all I have energy for right now. So typically when I have my clients getting deeper into the job search process,
which, to be fair, we are not experts in, nor have ever claimed to be experts in.
No. I would recommend that they be really selective about what they apply for and put their energy into quality application materials.
Yeah, things that are like 9s or 10s, or that feel like they could be a 9 or 10.
I still believe in this approach, to be clear.
But I am going to tell you how I didn't walk my talk.
But I'm going to tell you, and it's truly because I just did not have the bandwidth. I didn't have the mental
Yeah, I mean, you were still
energy.
trying to like write a book and coach and do all the things.
Yes.
And it's also a job to apply for a job.
It is. And my forever part of me was like, I want this, and I don't even have the energy to do it correctly.
Quote unquote correctly.
And so I recognize there's going to come a point in time where I might have to give this more quality attention. But in the meantime, as I'm just playing with this idea, I'm going to poke around on LinkedIn, have people have the algorithm send me relevant jobs. And I'm not even kidding you. I would not recommend this, but I was using the LinkedIn Easy Apply feature where it's like 3 clicks to apply. And it's just, here's my resume. And
you don't even edit the resume for the job. You don't write a cover letter. You're literally just like, here's a click.
And I was talking to a friend of mine who's, she's a little bit more well-versed in the job search process. And she was like, yeah, just think of it as perfecting the algorithm. She's like, you're not going to hear anything. And that's fine.
I do that on Hinge.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, listen, I don't like sending likes because I would rather you come to me, but I want that algorithm to know that this is what I'm into.
Exactly. It was me just nudging in the right direction.
Yeah.
More of this, less of this, please. Like I wasn't really expecting anything to come from that.
If I could tell the fucking Hinge algorithm less of this,
and it would listen.
98% of the time, Hinge would be like, oh, okay, I guess we won't send you that anymore. They'd send me like one person every 3 years or something. That's probably accurate. Anyway, continue.
So that's it. That's really all. I think there was maybe 2 jobs I actually wrote a cover letter for. And it wasn't like my best work. But I was just open to the idea.
You weren't really attached to any particular outcome
or any timeline or any particular company,
which is helpful.
Yeah. I just set the intention. My Thriver wants some kind of predictable work that I would enjoy and that would be not too hard for me because it's skills I already have and like a good team to work for.
I could treat business like a hobby, which is what a Thriver really ideally wants.
Exactly.
Is a fun hobby. And let me be clear before we go off and like tell everyone what happened, because obviously you did get a job. Mm-hmm. I think people need to understand that it's not like it sounds like, oh, I just couldn't make business work. It's like, no. First of all, I did make it work.
We've been making it work
pretty freaking well.
For 7 years full-time, 9 years total.
I made it work and it still wasn't doing it for me. Mm-hmm. So like that means there was something wrong with it. And I think part of the reason you are now able to pursue a more Thriver balance of life is because you have something that actually fulfills you. Mm-hmm. If you didn't have this, I don't think you would be happy working at a job.
Because then my fire starter would feel completely ignored.
Yeah.
So when you have a balance of 2 profiles, you have to give them what they each need. And sometimes it feels in conflict, but sometimes you can find a good balance. And so my Thriver wants predictable work with a good team. That's things that I'm very comfortable already doing. And my fire starter wants things to pour my excitement and my passion and my desire of like helping people improve their lives into something else. So a job and a business combined, I think is going to work really well for the balance that I personally have.
Yes. Right. I still think you're going to end up a little bit overwhelmed.
I will. Sure.
Because it's a lot. But
I end up overwhelmed in business alone sometimes. I mean, that's...
So why not just add a job?
Why not just add a job?
But here's the theory. The theory is when you're actually working in a way that is more aligned with your passion profile, you can actually do more and feel less overwhelmed because you're not trying to go against the grain.
Yeah.
When you're going with the grain, you actually can take on more and you have more energy and you're not burning out. So your productivity can actually increase.
Stealing your energy.
Right.
Other than...
You might actually be accruing energy.
Exactly.
Not just totally like going into debt, energetically speaking, every day. Yep.
Yes. And already, even though I haven't even officially started, my Thriver is feeling so good. So good. Just thinking about the possibilities and thinking about this new balance and thinking about how it's going to be taken care of, like feeling really good about this. So how did I actually get this job when I was barely trying?
By barely trying.
I mean,
literally, that's how you got it, by barely trying, which is the feminine way.
And it's no coincidence that I'm having conversations on the podcast and off the podcast about feminine energy the past few months.
Yeah.
And how many conversations did I have just with you, Rachel, or with some of our coach friends about, I want to do this the feminine energy way. That's how I want to approach this. I don't have a lot of excess masculine energy to give to this process now.
Yeah. You're not there to hunt down a job.
I really, really was not. I really was not. So the interesting way that it actually worked out was, it's true, none of my LinkedIn easy application or easy apply, none of that turned into a job. But by playing with the algorithm, letting LinkedIn in general know I'm open to possibilities, which also alerts recruiters who use LinkedIn as a tool to become aware that you're open for possibilities. I just randomly got an email from this company who wanted someone to build out their virtual training programs. So they are a training and coaching company, and they want to do more virtual training programs. They want to digitize more of this and standardize more of this, which is what I already do for our business. Yeah. I'm the one who builds out all of our virtual programs that we've had over the years.
I don't know how to do that.
Several. And I like it too. I find that fun.
Yeah. She's done most of that.
I mean, so it's just a skill I have. I enjoy doing it. But at some point we don't need endless programs. We build one and then we do it for a while and then maybe we retire it and build a new one. But I don't have to keep using that skill over and over again. So I use it and I like it. And then we automate it after that. So they reached out of the blue. I go back and I'm like, is that one of the ones I was easy applying for? Because you guys, I wasn't even keeping track of all of it. I mean, that's how little invested I was in my applications. I was not even aware of all the things I'd applied for. So I had to go back and check, did I apply for this? No, I did not apply for this. And in one of my early interviews, one of the people interviewing me asked, oh, we got your resume from such and such recruiter. Did you actually speak to them about this job ahead of time? I've never heard of this person. No clue who they are. No, did not reach out to me, did not recognize the name. So if that's not some kind of synchronicity, I don't know what is. Someone just decided you feel like a good fit for this, and I'm going to connect you and you'll never even know who I am.
I mean, the universe.
The universe. I mean, again, feminine energy. It just got delivered into my inbox. And the whole application process was very smooth. I liked every single person. The more I heard about the job, the more interested I got in it, actually. I'm totally in line with their philosophy of their coaching style. And I can do it remote from my home office.
Fully remote.
Fully remote.
Right. Commuting would have been a deal breaker.
Yes. And what's really interesting is this is one of those many companies that post-COVID has reevaluated their remote policy.
I don't think they had that
they're out of state. They don't even operate out of my state. And everyone was just local before COVID and commuted to the office. And after having to work remotely for over a year, they recognized, again, like a lot of companies, there's no reason people can't work remotely. We've proven it's possible. So the timing was great too. If I decided this a year or a year and a half ago, that would not have been a possibility for me. So it just felt like the stars had aligned. It
was also
in a lot of ways.
Easy process. Like you didn't even apply for it. They just reached out to you. All the conversations you had were like easy, not
very natural.
Yeah, that's natural. Maybe not easy. Like they did ask you some challenging questions.
They did.
But like there was no part of the process where it was like red flags were on the field and you were like trying to talk yourself into it. Like the whole time you were talking to me about it, you were like, if this works out, great. If it doesn't, whatever. Like, I don't, like, it is what it is.
Yeah. I was like, this feels like a great possibility. And if it doesn't work out, I'll trust that something else is meant to happen instead.
Yeah.
And I really, truly did not feel attached throughout the whole process, which I think helped my energy and helped it flow more naturally. And again, the more I heard, the more open I became to it. This actually sounds like it might hit everything I'm looking for. And so here we are. They made me an offer and it was...
You start next week.
I start next week. So I don't even know. I wish I could tell you how to replicate that. I think the way to replicate
Go back to our side chat last month and listen to that episode about how to do feminine energy.
Some feminine energy. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Because I'm not saying that's the exact sequence of events that will happen for you, but
listen,
I've just proven it can work.
If it was, I wouldn't still be on Hinge.
Right. But again, I do think timing has something to do with it.
Totally.
Because
that job wasn't available a year ago.
They've never hired for this role. This is the first
it's a new
time.
Role.
It's a new role.
Only available because of COVID. Like available remotely because of COVID.
Right. And only available because they've gotten to a certain stage in their business that now they're ready for this next step. So all of those things had to fit in place.
And then I had to be ready for it
at the same time. I mean, so some of this was my approach, I think. And some of this was, was the right timing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think people are going to be interested in hearing like, how do I diagnose a misalignment with my passion profile and like the way that I'm working? I think we should just walk them through a little bit about like, you've talked about it, but I think we should put it in like bullet form so that they can really digest easily. How do I diagnose if that's my issue?
Yeah.
Because it's sometimes what you're doing, but I always think, Kristen and I always say, start with trying to diagnose if it's how you're doing it, because that might be the problem. You might think I hate coaching, and that's not true. You don't hate coaching.
It's not. That's not true at all.
That how I'm doing it is not really aligned with how I'm meant to be doing it. So I think some of the symptoms are obviously burnout.
Yep.
Like if you feel like you are trying so hard and it's just like not easy and it's not flowing and it feels like you're pushing up the hill in order to just like function at work, specifically in work. Okay. Every day, that's a sign. Of course, that can happen because of other toxicity at work or whatever, but that's a big one. It's just exhaustion and burnout. Sometimes for no apparent reason. Do you know what I mean? Like I should like this and I don't know why I don't.
That's partially how I felt. It wasn't that I don't like it, but it was, this is everything that I thought I wanted.
Yeah.
And I still feel burnt out and overwhelmed and sometimes misaligned with the structure of it. So I know that for me, I know I'm doing what I like to be doing. It's not the what. I know it's not the what.
Yeah.
And I've tried to, there's maybe another piece of it. I've tried to make enough tweaks over the years.
That's another sign. You've tried a lot of things and you still keep getting kind of the same thing keeps happening. There's no real improvement.
Tweaks are not addressing the bigger disconnect.
Yes. Tweaks can't really change a full-on misalignment.
Right.
You know?
Right. Tweaks to how I'm running a fire starter business don't actually make my thriver feel seen.
No, it does not.
It's like, you're giving me crumbs and I need a slice of bread.
No, I need a whole damn loaf.
I need a whole loaf.
I'm hungry.
Of bread. I'm very hungry. I've been hungry for a long time. So that might be part of it is I've tried everything to make this work. Yeah. And something is still off.
And it might not just be one job. It might be a series of jobs.
Exactly.
Or a series of things you've tried. And none of them seem to get you any closer to feeling energized and clear and happy and satisfied, like deeply relieved too. Mm-hmm. So when you're working in the way that is right for you, you feel a deep sense of relief, I think.
Yes. And along those lines, because I felt a lot of relief, even just recognizing, I think I'm part thriver.
Right. I don't need to try to be a fire starter harder. Mm-hmm. I can let some of that pressure go. Instant relief.
Yes. And when you heard us give this super quick rundown of passion profiles, or maybe we can link to our more in-depth discussion of the profiles.
Yeah, I can do that.
One of the ways you might be able to tell that you're misaligned is if you feel attracted to one of the profiles, or you feel maybe a little bit envious, like, oh man, wouldn't it be so great if I could just
do that?
Yeah. Like I've had clients who were maybe, for example, a tribe member, but they're envious of fire starters. They're envious of people who have gone off and done their own thing. Mm-hmm. And at some point we have to ask, are you envious because you want some of that? Maybe you are a combo of a tribe member and a fire starter, and you need to find that right balance for you.
Yeah.
So if you're like, I wish I could be that.
That might not be the only reason that's true.
None of these are perfect.
It also could just be because you're not getting some basic needs met. And so you're doing like a grass is greener situation, mm-hmm. which I think might have been happening for that person who wrote to us last week on Dear Rachel, who was a thriver and is like, I think I'm going to start a business because I'm like feeling a lack of freedom. I'm like, the grass is not necessarily more free on the fire starter side.
Well, what that person and maybe what people listening are jealous of, that is correct. You just might be incorrect about the medium to get that. So the desire for freedom and travel capability and all of that was genuine. Yeah. It's just business ownership may or may not be the most direct route to that.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to evaluate, does the structure get me what I really want? And that's sometimes what it is too. I wanted freedom, flexibility as well, but I wanted that partially from a fire starter perspective of I want to direct my time, but partially from a thriver perspective of I don't want to have to work all the time. And I want more boundaries around work and life.
Here's the bottom line again. Not up front, at the end or towards the end. You shouldn't have to work so hard to make something work. Mm-hmm. If you're, listen, just go with me on this analogy. Okay. This is very particular to me. So I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yum. Okay. But if you're dating some skinny little dude who's never been to the gym and he's like, has like a voice that sounds a little bit too much like Mickey Mouse for your taste, you could try to be attracted to him. You could try. You could be like, oh, I don't know. Let's like role play and see if I can get into that. Or maybe some like weird Disney role play or something. Or you know what Mickey I mean? Or like I could ask him to go to the gym with me and like make him do sit-ups and see if that makes me more attracted to him. Or you could just be like, I shouldn't have to try so hard to be attracted to someone. I should just be allowed to be attracted to someone. Mm-hmm. And then you should just go find yourself a vampire lumberjack somewhere. You know what I mean? That's my aesthetic. And just like, you don't even have to try. The attraction is just there.
Right.
It's just aligned.
It's like, because when you're trying to force something, at some point you hit a ceiling. At some point you're like, I have made this the best I can make it. Yeah. And it's still like a 7 out of 10.
Oh my
God. That's with all the tweaks. That's with all the mindset changes, but you still hit a ceiling. So at some point,
it's so funny. That's exactly how I feel about every boyfriend I've ever had, by the way.
Well, not about the Mickey Mouse voice, but about the 7 out of 10, maybe.
No, just about like, you try every which way to like make it work and you just can't get past a 7 at most.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And at that point, you can't blame it on yourself because you're just not going to be equally attracted to everything in life.
No.
All the job possibilities, all the people, all the houses, all the cities. I mean, you have preferences for a reason.
It's part of who you are.
And when you try to ignore your preferences and just make something work, at some point you do feel
a little bit like your soul is shriveling.
You feel a little closed in and a little sad. Like, is this okay? I guess
like how you said closed in and sad. And I said, like, your soul is shriveling, like the real type 4 that I am. But same.
Right. And so if you feel like you've tried everything and you're still only hitting maybe a 7 maximum, you've just hit your ceiling in that experience.
Yeah.
And you need a different experience to open up even the possibility of a 10. Doesn't mean you're not still going to have to do the work and do your part to make it the best experience you can, but at least the possibility exists. At least you can be aligned enough. And I think that's, my fire starter always felt like it had the possibility of a 10. And the thriver part of me was like, this structure is never going to get me even close to a 10. It's too unpredictable.
Yep.
It's so much pressure to make it work, which again, the fire starter part of me thrives under. And the thriver part is like, ugh.
Yeah, but the fire starter part of you is a minority at this point.
At this point it is, which is why at some point this came to a head.
Yeah, you couldn't do enough.
I've always had part thriver, but it wasn't as loud as it has become. And it was
maybe more 50-50 at the beginning. And now it's become like 75-25. And you can't ignore that like the thriver is winning big time, but it feels like it's losing because you're not honoring it.
Exactly. And I think this is a good reminder, since this is not, this whole thing is about me, but it's also supposed to be about them too.
It's really not.
It's
not just about you.
That it does help to do somewhat regular check-ins, because what used to work may not work anymore. And that doesn't mean it wasn't right. It just means you've evolved.
Yep.
And as you, again, what worked for me in my 20s is not necessarily what's going to work for me in my 30s. And what works for me now in my 30s may not work in my 40s. I don't know. There's different phases of life. There's different things going on. There's different shift of priorities. And you have to keep checking in and reevaluate. You can't set it and forget it.
I genuinely believe you would not be in this place had you not done the fire starter thing in your 20s and satisfied that part of you. And then like, I don't need that to the same degree anymore.
Exactly. Like, I still need it, but I don't need it, to the same degree. Right. I don't need it to that extreme as I needed it then.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Let's talk about me now. But what's so funny is that you and I have this weird, I don't know, it's like a twin flame soulmate level situation.
Energy thing.
Where we end up mirroring each other and complimenting each other. Not like, oh, you're so pretty, like compliment with an EN, you know? Wait, no, that's not what I meant. You know what I mean?
Compliment.
Yeah. I am, you know what I mean? I am, not EM.
Yes. Yes.
Like, I'm not trying to say you're pretty. I'm trying to say that we complement each other.
We tried to be pretty yesterday for the finish. I'm not sure
it didn't work that much. We'll see. I recently quit my side gig at IPEC, which we started at the same time. And then I did for almost 9 months longer than you did. And then I was going fine. Everyone loved me. Everyone wanted me to stay. They were all really sad that I decided to leave. But it's very clear that my fire starter is still winning.
Yes.
And I have thriver too, but there may be 50-50. But honestly, having a thriver job for a while was really helpful. Like a side job was really helpful, but I got more and more and more chafed, more and more and more boxed in. I just couldn't make it work. At the end, I felt like my body was still there. My mind and spirit were just long checked out. And as soon as I quit, guess what happened? I started sleeping better, which
has always been an issue for you.
I've been sleeping so much better in the past 6 weeks since I quit. And I'm so much more relaxed. And I haven't had any anxiety almost for the last 6 weeks. And I just feel a lot more calm and satisfied and more energetic. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I'm still a fire starter. More so than I am a thriver. And they're close. It's not like, I don't think fire starter's winning by a lot, maybe 60-40, but it's enough that having done a thriver job, even for a year and a half, was by the end of it, I was exhausted by something that by all rights was so easy. It should not have exhausted me. It wasn't really a heavy lift.
It wasn't about workload. It's about energetic output.
It was about how much energy you lose when you are trying to go against the grain.
Yep.
I was losing so much energy, more energy than I was gaining just by doing a job that was very easy, not full time. I was good at it, There was no part of it that was hard for me. Everyone loved me. There was literally no logical reason why I should have been losing so much energy, but I was.
And this is a good point too, because you and I, we're the same combo, fire starter and thriver.
Yeah.
We're both
different,
but different balances.
Yeah.
And so even what works for someone else with your same combination might not work for you because you might have a different breakdown of what wins or what wins by how much.
Yeah.
So again, and of course, it just worked out almost comical timing that as you are quitting a job, I am interviewing for a new job.
And that's not just like a funny coincidence. It's like, oh, well, great. You're going to do less work and I'm going to need a little bit more work now.
We can just shift the balance. And it actually worked out really well.
Yeah. Now I don't need to feel weird because I'll just make more money and you'll make a little bit less money. I'll coach more people. You'll coach fewer people. But like, that'll work out for us.
That'll work. I mean, it's actually perfect timing.
Yeah.
Not just funny timing.
Right. I mean, funny as in like, of course, the universe.
Right.
Like, duh. That kind of
always
timing.
looking out for us.
Yeah.
So that's my story. That's my announcement, but also hopefully interesting story that makes you think about, am I in the right structure? Or was I in the right structure, but maybe I'm not anymore. And maybe I need something different at this phase of my life. And hopefully a little bit of permission to even something that feels like you have to do more of that, like masculine hunting down. I mean, job searching, what else does it feel like? It feels like
hunting,
action oriented, that you have to make this happen.
No, it can be lazy. It can be kind of lazy and you can still get a job that like you didn't even apply for.
Yeah. That's what you needed exactly. So I hope that's a little bit of permission to you as well. I know we've had some mixed conversations about job searching on here where we've had experts on who told you here's a lot of things you have to do. And I'm not saying don't do those things, but I'm saying if they totally exhaust you, there's another way as well. So go with where your energy is.
Yeah.
There might have come a time where I was willing to do more of that intensive action-oriented approach because it was a little bit more urgent, but that's not where I was. It wasn't urgent. It was just a realization. And I thought, whenever this works out, I'm open to it. And it just happened to be really fast.
There might be a time again where I'm like, okay, I think my Thriver is winning now. And I think
you got to keep checking in, which I know.
Yeah. Not everyone has that balance. I see some people are just fire starters. Some people are just side hustlers. That's fine. But it's okay. Whether it doesn't really matter. It's okay to go through phases of life where you need different things based on what phase of life you're in. And whether we call it passion profiles or not, it's important to honor what phase of life you're in and what you need now. And like, stop trying to make something work if you've tried everything and it's just not flowing. Like,
okay, you're capping out. You're hitting a ceiling.
Did not feel like it was flowing for you. It just felt hard. It felt like everything that you did was pushing uphill against the current.
And again, if everything wasn't working, then that would have been a sign maybe I need to completely redirect. But I was still loving my coaching conversations. I was still loving the actual job of it, but it was just the structure of the whole business that was feeling more constricted. So that's how I knew this is not a misalignment of the what. This is definitely just a misalignment of the how.
Yeah.
And also permission, you don't have to completely change something. You can just edit a little bit. It's not like I said, yes, I'm done with having a business.
Yeah.
That part of me is not over at all. I'm very much still in the clarity on fire thing. I'm still very invested in making this work. In fact, I almost feel like I'm going to be able to give more pure energy to it.
Well, that's the point of being a thriver.
Exactly.
Like, I'm doing it because I want to do it now, not because I have to.
Exactly. I think I will enjoy it even more with a thriver job to balance it out.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any last questions for me? I think we got into pretty much everything.
We've been talking for like almost an hour. So
yeah,
I think we're good.
A long story.
I think if they haven't taken something from that, then they just need to go back and listen to it again instead of hearing me talk more.
Okay.
We'll check in and see how it goes. You haven't started yet. So let's hope you don't end up regretting
I started training, but I haven't started officially. And training's going well so far.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll see.
We'll see
how this goes.
I'll keep checking in like I told you.
Right. Yeah. You're not just going to try to set it and forget it.
Nope.
This is what you feel good about now. And maybe you'll feel good about something 2 years from now, something else.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's fine. For now, I like not having 2 jobs. I really love it.
See, got to keep checking in.
It's so great. Yeah. So, okay. Love to hear your thoughts about this. Of course, your feedback.
But don't stress. I'm not going anywhere and I'm still fully invested in all of my people.
It's fine. Yeah. I mean, you might have to coach with her at a slightly different time than you might have.
Yeah, my schedule might change a little bit. But my commitment has not.
Yeah. She'll be taking on fewer clients in future.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be working with a little bit more. But it's not like it's not like I can work with that many more people. So we're just going to have to take on a more selective group of people. And well, you know what? That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind being selective. Okay. So I love to hear your feedback. Leave a comment on this episode. You can always find the link in the show notes, or you can just go to Clarity on Fire. If you're listening to this in real time, just go to the website.
You'll find it there on the top post.
And we will be back
next Friday.
Yeah. Next Friday with a new side chat about something, but I don't know what.
You can be surprised just like we are.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.